Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Crandell, founder of Executive Director. Whoa, that's not who I am. I'm still Todd Crandell. I am the founder of Racing for Recovery, and I love these podcasts we've been doing for the past few weeks. And we have Mr. Andy Nunley on with us today, which I'm excited about, and I know we're going to do a lot of laughing. So I'm going to start off with this with you, young grasshopper. Tell me who Daddy is. And we're going to have to get that picture on this broadcast somehow.
A made-up character that we happened to just get some pictures of in front of this, what was it, an Audi that had these plates on it, Daddy plates or something, and it's just a real funny thing. And I had like a plate of food, and it was just right after the Iron Man deal. It was really good.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Where were we when we encountered Daddy?
Iron Man Chattanooga.
What did going on that trip? What did that do for you?
Well, it got me back in my head back in the game because I was, I'm training for Ohio, and it had been a long, 8 months of all winter training. And then when we went down there, it actually boosted my confidence and got my head back in the game. I think the month before that, I started to almost just getting ambitious, ready to do this thing, and we still had a few months out. And then I went down there, and it was like, okay, this is what we're doing this for. It was enthusiastic for me. We got VIP passes. That was great. The whole trip was awesome.
So let's talk about when you didn't have confidence. And when I think of the questions I'm going to ask you here, I can look at them with some humor. I also look at them back with a lot of empathy for you, for where you were emotionally, mentally, psychologically, all that stuff. So let's talk about the proverbial beer can in the back of your truck and how you were completely trying to snowball me on stuff.
Okay.
Tell me about the mindset you had at that time when you were in here.
The mindset I had, it would have been the first time I ever met you. And I had been battling alcohol and drug addiction for years. I guess you'd call it battling. In and out of recovery centers, treatments, different programs. And I was almost at a point where I pretty much figured I was probably going to die drinking or drugging for the rest of my life, that I was alive. I felt like I couldn't beat this thing. So then I had got in trouble, and I just, and they gave me probation and all that, and I had to get some treatment. So I come in here, and then I just figured this is how it was. Like, if I tell you the least amount of stuff about me, how I don't want to tell you how bad I really am, because I want the least amount of treatment and penalty, so I can, get this charges out of my way, do my treatment, and go back to what I want to do, drink, and back to thinking that if I just work enough, it's going to solve all my problems. Stay busy and keep pretty much what I was telling my family and everything else, just make people happy, get people off my back so I could continue to do what I was doing.
So let me ask you this, Andy, and I'm being, I'm always honest with this, but this is the stuff that, I'll say it honestly, I get it still hurts me, because I'm picturing you back then, and I'm wondering, because I want the viewer to get inside your head with this. Did you think I was actually buying it when we were talking like that? I mean, what was I know your agenda was to get the least amount of treatment, but did you really think that you were getting one over on me like I believed it?
I probably did, honestly. My mindset at the time, I thought I was getting one over on everybody.
Did you have a perception of what Racing for Recovery was or what it wasn't when you came in here that first time?
I didn't have a perception. I just had heard it was different, and I had went through pretty much every other place that there was, and I knew what that was going to all be like. And honestly, I was opting out for let's just get some IOP and give it a shot. I honestly thought it was just gonna be like every other IOP, but they all knew me at them ones, so I figured I could try to come in here, feed you a line of crap, and then you just say, oh, it's shortest amount of IOPs, and go on your way,
So let's talk about how that, well, I'll ask it this way. Did that work for you?
No, it didn't. I actually stayed sober after months of coming here. I probably stayed sober maybe a little over a month. And then, went right back to it.
So now let's get to some good stuff. So nothing really happens at that. You signed your 18 things that you're required to do, and you're off and running. You're right back to where you were. Let's talk about what the shift was to get you to where you are today, which is incredible. You come back. Talk about that process. What happened and what made you say, I'm going back there to do it right this time?
Yeah, that's where I was going to say that we probably need to get into. After I had completed that, it was almost 9 months to a year of just a downward spiral. Relationship problems at home. My drinking and drug use spiraled out of control. Blaming everybody else. I wasn't happy with myself, so at home, everything that I prayed for years to come into my life, I had, but I wasn't happy with myself, so I was unhappy with everything else. And then I ended up getting a DUI, the same two police officers, same, right in my driveway where I told you about the beer can fake story. Get a DUI. My woman's like, this isn't enough's enough. I end up moving out into a motel room, get a different job, which was way too much. 7 days a week I'm working, that was my whole life was that. So then I pretty much just went on a self-destruction mission for the next, I think I was gone maybe 6 months, 8 months or something. And then I just, probably one of the lowest, loneliest spots I had ever been in my life, and actually tried to end my life, and then ended up in the hospital, and actually a guy in the hospital, because I was like, man, I have to do something. I have to get into some kind of housing or something, but I didn't want to go to the same places that I had tried for years and years, for almost over a decade. I had tried in and out of treatment centers, and the guy referred me to here, and I didn't even know you offered housing. So I said, okay, and I called Dan, and, we talked, and he gave me an opportunity, man. You guys give me an opportunity, and you give me an opportunity for me to take control of my life and put in the effort to rebuild my life.
So let's start talking about that. I'm going to start with, I want you to talk about what you did last night starting at 6 o'clock. So at 6 o'clock last night, what did you start doing?
I had got off work and caught the bus home from work and came to the meeting here and seen my peers. And then after the meeting, I went home and got hydrated, got nutrition in me, seen my family, talked with them, got everything ready for today, for this morning, for when I woke up at 4 a.m, and continued into that, rode my bike we all swim to swim practice, and then swim practice back to here on the bike, and did the meeting. And
when you say did the meeting, when you facilitated it, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the reason I'm asking you that is the whole thing to set you up for what you've done today sober started yesterday with ending it in sobriety.
Yeah.
So the whole catalyst to you doing what you're doing right now with being on this, it starts with yesterday's choices. I didn't use, came to the meeting, worked, hung out with my family, ate some plants, went to bed, boom, here you are today. What's it like for you being a guy who was in here giving me some story to now facilitating a Racing for Recovery meeting Fridays at 8 o'clock?
One would be involved in Racing for Recovery, and the other side of that was being involved in my own self and own recovery, if that makes sense.
Crystal clear.
Okay.
What has helped you to become the awesome dude that you are today? What has Racing for Recovery done for you that you've implemented and worked hard for?
Racing for Recovery, this is kind of a lot here. You guys give me an opportunity to, one, pull away from society's, you give me an opportunity, and I had a chance in my life to pull away and work on me. I stayed in housing for 6 months. But the biggest deal about it all was that all the stuff that I thought that I was over, as you know, from a kid and growing up and throughout my life, I started to figure out that trauma. We did one-on-ones, and the thing that was different about Racing for Recovery is I started finding things I was doing active things that was building my self-esteem in the beginning. So I started trying all different things. I never did yoga in my life. I tried yoga. I never did Soulcore or nothing, even Pilates or anything you want to call it. I never did none of that in my life. I ran and I worked out a little bit, but I started doing them things before I even tapped into or even started figuring out what some of my trauma was. So I started boosting my self-esteem with these positive alternatives to using drugs and alcohol. So then when I did start to dig into them things with you, and afterwards when you're sitting in your room alone, or the stuff's on your brain, the old me that was like, I'm not good enough, I'm a piece of crap, look at all the bad you did to everybody, or all these painful memories come up. My go-to, instead of going to alcohol and drugs now and self-destruction, was doing things that made me feel good, that boosted my self-esteem, that boosted endorphins in me, and I still do it today.
So we had last week, or recently, last month, this month, whatever, we interviewed our buddy Eric. And I talked to him about our trip to Maine.
Yeah.
So he talked about what it was like from, watching the Ironman in perspective. I want to talk to you about Maine and what it did for you to change your nutritional habits, and how that's helped you. So we're off in Maine doing the Ironman. We've talked about that before, but what was it nutritionally about that trip that got you to change? And how's that helped you?
That's when I turned vegan.
Yeah.
I had quit eating meat when we went to Ohio.
That's right.
We went to Ohio, and I quit eating the meat, but I was still dairy and eggs crazy, and really unhealthy. I was the heaviest I ever was in my life, 178 pounds. I'm only 5'9", so I was pretty heavy. And I had a foot injury that wouldn't heal. And when we went to Maine, I think it started with the cheese. You give me some vegan cheese, and we was eating just raw food all weekend, pretty much. It was good, and some I don't know if it lost to Chipotle or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if it lost this on here, but so we started doing that, and then I gave it a try, and I didn't say, hey, I'm going to do this forever, but I said, you know what, I'll give it a try. And then I had my foot, believe it or not, my foot healed. I don't have no problems with it before. And I didn't take no medicine for it. It wouldn't heal for months and months and months. I had injured it it was injured for 6 months and just wouldn't heal. And I went vegan, cut out, I think the biggest thing was cutting the dairy out. Yeah. And the inflammation went down and started to heal. My energy levels now have totally flipped and are I have a lot of energy, and I heal from we were training together for sometimes 4 hours a day, right. And I'm healing and recovering like that, from the raw food, and not just raw food, just not eating meat or dairy, pretty much. And it was a life-changing thing for me, and it just made me more conscious of what I was putting in my body too, and more empathetic for all living beings. It ain't just about us, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
How much weight have you lost?
I originally had lost 25 pounds. I gained a few pounds back, but I lost 2 more pant sizes, so it must be in the good places. So I think I'm gaining more muscle now. You know, I got actually started taking plant-based protein. You know, and and the right. My nutrition dialed in. When I first started the vegan thing, all I was eating was like beans and rice and bananas, and then I was uneducated on it. Just like with the triathlon training, I didn't know what I was doing, and then got with you and you helped me with that. It's like having a guide in this thing, and the more you learn, the more you apply it, and it gets a lot easier, you know. And my vitamins, I take a lot of different vitamins also.
So what I do feel, you know what, I'm honest in what I do, and I don't like doing this, but I have to. This is like a disclaimer, because yes, this is a Racing for Recovery podcast, and Racing for Recovery is not telling people you have to do an Ironman, and we're certainly not telling them you have to be vegan. Having said that, on a personal level, do I do those things that help me personally, which aids my, quote, professional way of doing things? So I don't want anybody who's at home saying, oh, they're telling me that I have to go vegan in order to be a part of that program, because that's not what I'm saying. I am having an open conversation with somebody who's doing a couple of things and is very successful in the recovery and feels good about it. So you take that, for you folks at home, take that for whatever you want to. By the way, you have a year now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a year of sobriety for somebody who's doing a balanced, holistic lifestyle, that healthy nutrition. We can even leave out the V word. You can say whatever you want, Andy.
You know, I guess another thing that was different about this time in recovery is that I seen things here that I wanted that I didn't see in other places. That's what drew me towards triathlon training. That's what and also I wanted to feel good, and not just physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but this is where no one said, hey, Andy, you got to train for Ironmans and you got to eat nothing but plants, or you're going to fail or anything, right. Nothing like that. Yeah. It's just laid out there. Like, if you want some help with some different things in your life, it's like, I wanted some certain things, so I gravitated towards them things and asked about them, and then tried them. Tried a lot of different things, and I found what worked for me. And I do believe that exercise, nutrition, rest has made a total change in me, in my mental and emotional states also. I came in here and I was on antidepressants. I haven't been on antidepressants in, I don't know, 9 months, 10 months or something. I think I was on them for the first 2 months of into this sobriety thing. I'm not on I actually don't take no medication, just multivitamins and different vitamins and some supplements, lots of carbohydrates because I'm always burning calories. But
I hope that people can see the smirk on my face, because it's pride. Let's talk about our relationship. I think of honestly, it's good to talk to you like this, because I don't see you as often as I'd like to. I saw you in the water this morning, but you can't talk when we're actually swimming, and then you had to jet out of the pool to get back here and run our support group meeting. But let's talk about our relationship and how, much time we've spent together running, driving in the car from swimming to here, sitting on those bikes in the garage. Yeah. And it's a give and take. I'll talk about my side of it in a second, but what has that peer support in our relationship been like for you?
It's awesome, because I look at you as a friend. You've guided me, and you've helped me, counseled me and all that, but I look at you, man to man, as a friend of mine. I'd call you, a brother of mine, and I know that them training sessions, you're both. It's wild because there would be different times. Like, so we're on these bike trainers for hours and hours at a time, and you start to get to know each other because you see when someone's going through stuff, and you're, some days are great days, and you're like, man, this rocks, and other days, life's things are going on, and everybody has life's problems, and life, complications come up, and so you get to know each other, and you feel each other out, and then and what happens though is that there's days that I did not want to do it at all. I'm in there and we're tired. We're really getting it there for a while and building up all winter for these races that came up and are coming up. And the peer support out of that is that when there would have been days that I could have very easily said, you know what, I'm not going in today. I'm a little tired. But I would show up because you'd come pick me up. And we would go, and then when we was done, halfway into the thing, I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm doing this thing. And I think it's both ways. I
Absolutely.
think,
Yeah.
just like today, you guys taught me accountability. Last night we was talking on the phone, and I said, hey, I'll make it to swimming one way or another. I'll ride my bike. Well, if the alarm went off at 4, and one part of me said, you know what? You're going to swim tomorrow too. You could probably just, not go. But then I said, you know what? I told somebody I'm going to do it. And that's what's different today is the old me wouldn't have been accountable for nothing. I would have just told you like the beer can story, whatever I thought you wanted to hear to let me do what I wanted to do.
Well, I say this a lot. I'm proud of you. And one of the things I want to thank you for is, I'm doing a lot of events this year myself. And one of the reasons I'm able to do the volume again that I'm doing is because I'm motivated by what I see you do, what I've seen Eric and a lot of people do around here. And the stuff that you were saying, I can turn on and will say the same thing back to you. There's days where I woke up in February when it's 2 degrees outside. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't feel like going in there and riding the bikes on a Saturday morning. I want to lay here with my pig and chill out. Yeah. But I'm like, I told Andy I'm picking him up at 5:30. I got to go because I don't want to call you and give you some story about, dude, you're never going to believe this, but a hurricane came in and knocked over my house last night. I know it's middle of February, but that's really what happened. It's like, and that's the peer support thing goes both ways, and it really helps people to not only enjoy the good times, but to get through the rough times to enjoy more good times. Yeah. So you completed your first triathlon a couple weeks ago. Yeah. What was that like, man?
Well, I've been swimming. Actually, I really didn't even know how to swim. On the day after Thanksgiving was my first day in the pool, like trying to swim laps. I made it maybe 2/3 down the lane and grabbed onto the thing because I couldn't go no more. I was dying. And so I've been swimming all winter. Well, I get into the water and I didn't even make it. Probably 50 yards to the first little buoy, and I inhale a bunch of water. It's like stuck in my windpipe. I can't breathe out and I can't breathe in. So I just grab on this buoy, which you're allowed to grab onto stuff as long as you don't push yourself forward. And I'm going, and there's people like, I can't breathe out, can't breathe in. And I must have looked panicked because a couple of this lady's like, are you okay? Do you want me to call a lifeguard? I'm like, no, I'm good. And then I just like puke up all this water. So then I'm good. So I finish it out pretty slow. I get out of the water and, it was really cool, all the training we're doing. So like, for all this, and this is a littler one, but it didn't matter. It was really cool. Jumped on the bike. I don't really like talking like this because I feel like I don't want to be like a pomp but I killed the bike. The bike was awesome. I was like passing people up and it felt good, and I had a really good run, and I walked it and still did one of the fastest times I ever did, so, and what was awesome about it is when I'm coming through the transition from the bike to the run, and this almost gets me kind of emotional.
It's good, dude.
Jeez, God, why is
it's
good.
Stuff?
It's good, the emotional stuff though, because it's like the peer support. Yeah. I hear everyone just like, go, Andy, and Patrick McAndrews. He's like running down the thing, screaming, and I'm just like, yeah, let's go. So
that's awesome, dude.
I don't know why I get so freaking emotional.
Because it's an emotional thing, man. That's great. That's
But
great.
it's good. The peer support here is awesome. Like, you know what's wild is I will add this in here. I know we're talking about the triathlon stuff, but I don't hang out with nobody that, like, my old friends. Like, I went to one of my buddies. They're like, they got a, you know, like a group, you know, they do music and stuff. And I went to one of them, and I seen some people there, and they was like, man, we're really proud of you, and we're glad you're doing what you're doing. But I don't go and hang out with people from where I grew up or old people I used to use with or none of that. And it's not that, like, they're not good people or I'm better than them or nothing, but I created a whole new group of friends and peers that are doing the same things I'm doing. And it might not be triathlon, but they're sober and they're doing things with themselves. And they're people I know that will support me and I can support them, and it's genuine friendships.
Well, I want to talk about that other part of peer support and doing other things, but we do have to talk about this quickly. Remember last year you stood on the beach with me when I was doing the half Ironman in Ohio.
Yeah.
And we were talking about you doing that race.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing it 2 weeks from Sunday.
Yeah. I think we're 16 or 17 days out.
Yeah,
so,
16 days away.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you feeling about going into that?
I'm feeling good. It's you know what's wild is we got our little training app and all that, and I clicked on it today and I was like, it's real. It's getting real now. It feels real now. You know, I remember logging our stuff and, you know, of what we did every day, and it saying, you know, 5 months out, 100, you know, or whatever it was, 182 days away, and then it's just like, and then it was 3 months, and then we ran the half marathon thing, and then we was like, okay, now I think it was 2 or 3 months, or 3 months out from that day or something, and it's just getting closer and closer, and now it's real. I'm just really, I'm looking forward to it, you know. It's just all coming to fruition. We put in a lot of work. Me and you put in tons of work over the winter, day after day after day after day, you know.
Yeah. How has it felt, Andy, to have Racing for Recovery, and notice my verbiage in this, how has it felt to have us invest in you, like helping with some of the equipment or whatever we've done for you? Details don't matter, but just that you know that we've invested in you to help you do these things. How does that feel?
I said this before, is that it makes me feel good that someone thinks that I'm worth it invest in.
Yeah.
That you trust in me enough that I'm not just like, hey, I'm doing, you know, this stuff just to, you know, I don't know, get brownie points or something, or, you know, like, hey, if I do triathlon, you guys will like me more or something. But it was nothing like that. It's never nothing like that. And it made me feel more confident in myself that others were confident in me to do this and would support me and do all that for me. Because it's, you know, it's, for me, I think if I'm looking back on my life, and even now it's still hard, you know, there's just some of the things I battle, is the other people will see the good in me or the worth in me more than sometimes than we can see in ourselves. Is that understandable?
Yeah.
Like, that's just something that that I recognized, and that, you know, by going through this thing, and I'm you know, it's a work in progress, man.
So we talked about peer support, and we talked about doing other things, and you mentioned Patrick, who will be on this show at some point. I know he will, because he's awesome and he's doing well. Let's talk about going to Metallica a couple of times, and then Tesla, and, you know, because music is a big part of the Racing for Recovery lifestyle, you know, and we went over to, to Cleveland to see Metallica, but specifically when we went to Indianapolis to see him with Patrick. What is, you know, and you met Tesla with me, you know, what's it like to go to these things and be sober at them? What's that experience like?
It's awesome. I must say a lot because I keep catching myself. But in past times I tried to get sober and do stuff, I never could have fun sober. So I battled with that for years, and I've had a blast at these things. Like we go and it's a rock show, man, you know, and we're all sober, we're all having fun, and you know, until I start, this is where it goes back to dealing with that, you know, that past traumas and different, you know, insecurities in myself. Is that I used to go, like if I were to go to a place like that before I came in recovery this time and wasn't able to drink or party or something, I would feel like I was being like punished or something. And now, you know, and now that when we was going to these things, you know, 100% sober, you know, it's like, I don't even know how I would go before, because it was, I didn't even enjoy the show. Like we're feeling and witnessing this whole thing, you know, it was awesome, you know, and and you know what was cool is it showed me, by you taking us to that, it showed me that I can go have fun and go to places where, because there are people were drinking there, but I don't have to drink to have fun. And just because the world isn't going to change just because I quit drinking, and it's not their responsibility to do, that's their choice, you know, and it's not their responsibility to not drink, because, you know, the world's not going to change because, hey, Andy stopped drinking, so... You know, but we go and we have fun, and I'm confident in my sobriety, and I know I can go to places now and have fun, you know, and go to shows and do things, and I don't want the alcohol, you know. And another thing that I'm going to add into that is that you guys give me an opportunity for me to create a life that is, like you was talking about what I do last night. My life is so full right now, like I don't even... You know, I'm trying to put this in the right way. My life is so full with things now, I don't even know where I would have time to find to drink or to go use again, because my whole day is like, my days are set up for me, and I have, you know, family, training, work. I have a full life now that I had no life. I was isolated in a little motel room, you know, destroying myself before I came here. I pushed everybody out of my life. And I never in a million years would have thought that my family would want something to do with me, support me, and, you know, things they're better than they've ever been. Even, you know, years ago, you know, now that I'm sober, like... they get the real me, and I actually am clear-headed enough to see the real them.
You said it all, buddy. I appreciate you coming on here today.
Thanks.
I just want to say, if you listen to what Andy was talking about, he is a living, breathing, productive example of what Racing for Recovery does. He talked about balance. He talked about healing. He talked about forgiving self. He talked about having fun, achieving goals. That's what this program does, and I'm proud of this awesome dude. Until next time, be sober. If you need us, you know where to find us. Tune in to our live stream support group meeting every Monday and Thursday night. We'll talk to you soon.